Well, good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here. It's just a great day for the Broncos. Couldn't be more excited to have the opportunity to introduce our new team president, Damani Leech. Damani, welcome to Broncos country. Also here today that I'd like to introduce is Damani's family, Dr. Tamara Leech and Brianna and Simone. It's great to have you all here. When we began this comprehensive search, our goal was to identify a forward-thinking and innovative leader for the Broncos. We wanted to find someone who could steer our business operations with innovation and integrity, working collaboratively across the organization. Over the course of many conversations with myself and our partners, Damani's leadership, strategic vision, and collaborative spirit stood out. George Paton's input and support was also an important part of the process. Damani is highly thought of and respected across the NFL and in sports at large. His 25 years of experience at both the NCAA and growing the game with the NFL give him a great base of experience to draw from. And as a former college player himself, he understands football and he appreciates the value of teamwork. The Broncos have an incredible legacy, and Damani is the perfect person to help lead this franchise into the future. With that, it's my pleasure to introduce the new team president of the Denver Broncos, Damani Leech.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate that introduction. It is a tremendous honor and privilege to be a part of the Denver Broncos and Broncos country. I want to thank first Greg as well as the entire Walton Penner ownership group, obviously Greg, but Carrie and Rob, Melody and Condoleezza, all of whom I had a chance to speak with throughout this process, and Lewis, and it really is a deeply humbling opportunity to be a part of this organization and the next chapter of this great organization. Thanks to General Manager George Paton, who I had a chance to connect with at multiple times during this process. We had the pleasure of talking and sharing our unique bonds of playing college football and starting in an industry really as basically interns and working our way up. And you can believe we have a shared vision on the importance of football to this organization with the number one goal of being winning. I'm excited to support George and Coach Hackett, who I've met several times. We met earlier today and hugged 3 times in the span of 5 minutes. Just 2 brilliant football minds, and just really excited to work with them in this process. As Carrie Walton Penner said earlier, I think during her introduction, really we want to make this the best organization to play for, to cheer for, and to work for. And I'm committed to that and being a part of an organization that is also committed to that. I'd be remiss if I didn't also thank my family, my wife Tamara, daughters Brianna and Simone. I'll try not to cry. But thank them for their support and really sacrifice in making this a reality. So we've all moved out here and excited to be a part of Broncos country and be a part of the Denver community. This club, as you all know, has a tremendous reputation, one that is really second to none. There's a deep tradition of winning, a history of community impact, and a loyal and passionate fan base, and really what is a thriving global city that is Denver, that we're excited to be a part of. I have great success for this franchise and its history. Not only great players and coaches, Hall of Famers, not to mention the late Pat Bolin, who from a league's perspective is someone who is revered across the league, and Joe Ellis as well. I stand here truly on the shoulders of giants, and I really understand that, and I don't take that for granted as well. While I was just starting at the league office in 2015, I had my first experience at the 2015 AFC Championship game, and coming out to this stadium and this community and feeling the fans, it was incredibly palpable. It was really unique, not like many clubs around this country, and it's something that has stayed with me, that experience, and really excited to be a part of that now. Broncos country is it's really special. I'm going to come to work every day laser focused on supporting football, connecting, engaging with our fans, with an eye on the future. So that football, fans, and future is what you're going to see from me and what I'm going to embed in our staff and in this culture to really turn the page of this organization into the next chapter of this club. And I can't wait to get to work. We have a tremendous staff here at UC Health Training Center in Power Field at Mile High. I'm going to approach it with a listen and learn approach for them. Really great and talented people, but excited to get to work with Broncos country. Let's ride.
Let's ride. That we just heard from new Broncos president Damani Leech speaking for the first time in his new role. At one point he said, "I stand on the shoulders of giants," referencing Joe Ellis and the people who came before him. A really powerful speech there.
And I think it was also good to hear him really reminisce on his last time in Denver. He was talking about when he was here in 2015 for the AFC Championship and says that experience stayed with him.
Yeah.
And then to hear his laser focus on 3 Fs. Football, fans, and future.
Yeah, that's really what it's all about. So I know we're all so excited about this next season, and we're, of course, continuing to stream that press conference for you on 9news.com and our free 9 News Plus app as well.
All right, we'll have another.
Practices, experiences, and really try to connect that with what we do here that's already successful and look for opportunities to make it even better.
Greg, his NFL experience, how critical was that into hiring him, and how important was that?
It was definitely an important part of the process. His understanding of how the league works and the relationships that he's built across the league, working with all 32 organizations, is going to be invaluable to us. And he's been involved in growing a part of the NFL, and understanding how to grow a business is important. And then just the connections he has in sports and business will be particularly important.
Yes, Damani, in the first press release said you'd be in charge of business and stadium management. How does that marry with football, with George Payton? And, what kind of involvement, if any, will you have with the football operations?
Yeah, well, good question. I think one of the things, and you've heard me say it and others say it, that our currency around here is winning. We are a football club, we're a football organization, so we're all the oars are in the water in that direction of being a successful football club on the field. Now my responsibility is to work with George, and I'll do that. We have a great relationship already to support football and business. These two things can't be successful without each other. So we'll have great communication, great candid, open communication, but my focus is outside the lines. I won't be picking players or calling plays. I'm focused on the fans and the community, growing our fan base tremendously of Broncos country, and doing what we can to make our players successful on the field and off the field.
Brandon Cristal with KOA Radio. My question's for both of you. I want to start with Greg. The Broncos have gone out of their way, I think, or put an emphasis on diversity top to bottom in the organization in recent years. So how important was that to be continued by you and your ownership group, and was Damani kind of at the top of the list for that reason as much as any? And then Damani, how much did that mean to you to see what this organization has done with the diversity in the ownership group and throughout the building?
Yeah, we've said from the start, diversity is really important to us, and that's diversity of experiences, perspective, background, ethnicity. All of that is we think makes us better. And so when we set out to identify a pool of candidates here, that was certainly an important part of it. And Damani rose to the top because he's the right person for this role, and he's got the right set of experiences and background, and his vision and values matched really well with ours.
Yeah, and I think for me, it was important to see it, but also hear it with the ownership group. And then as I got closer to the organization, you see it across the football staff, embracing diversity and doing it as a strategic advantage. I really feel like DEI is a strategic advantage. I think the clubs and organizations that lean into it are going to be more successful. Certainly personally, it was great to hear and feel it and see it, but I'll also take that with me in leading this organization.
Hi, Damani. Eric Delalet from DenverBroncos.com. Welcome to Denver. A couple of questions for you. First, you've been to a couple of preseason games and had a chance to meet some staff members. What have just been your initial impressions?
Meeting the staff was great. Both days I had a chance to meet staff of the preseason games. It's game day. People are running around, doing their jobs, working hard, but everybody stopped, shook my hand, and you could feel from them the excitement as this organization begins to turn over a new leaf. And I think a lot of people want to be a part of that journey, and I'm excited to be on it with them.
And then secondly, you mentioned your experience at the league office and with the NCAA. What appealed to you about joining a team and kind of experiencing it from a different side?
Winning. When you're at a league office, you don't often win, and you don't often lose. And to be a part of an organization that's committed to winning on and off the field was incredibly attractive. But then also having an emotional investment in that success and the outcomes was really attractive.
Nick Kosmider with The Athletic. Damani, at Princeton you studied public policy and international affairs. The last portion of your experience with the league office was with NFL International. And I'm curious what you see as opportunity for a franchise in kind of this modern time to expand the game, expand the team's brand internationally, and how big of a part of your role will that be?
The NFL certainly is the preeminent sports and entertainment property here in the United States, with designs on being the #1 sports and entertainment property around the world. The NFL is what it is because of its collection of clubs and players. And as when I was at the league office, we're trying to grow internationally, what we realize is that people are fans of players and they're fans of teams. And so giving clubs an opportunity to get international, to grow fans, develop relationships, but then also leverage that for commercial purposes was the right strategy. It's something I was excited to see launch and now excited to take on in a more direct role with the Broncos.
Troy Rink from Denver 7. Damani, this is for you and for Mr. Penner. What does winning look like on the business side? We see it on the scoreboard and in the standings it's easy. What does it look like? How do you articulate on the business side for both?
Sure, I can start. I think it's a few different dimensions. One is just growing revenues of the business, but also it's fan engagement, community impact, building the right culture and values within the organization. All of that is winning on the business side.
And I think going a layer deeper will be important for us as an organization to really define that. I'm big on data, I'm big on metrics and accountability, and you actually do define winning, right? By how many people are coming to the stadiums, how many people are engaging with our social and digital properties, how many people are buying our licensed products, how many people are we connecting with in the community, how many people are on the season ticket holder waiting list. There's a lot of different ways to measure success. I think the key for us is to be aligned on what those definitions are and then what our goals are and track those over time.
Andrew Mason, DenverFan.com and 104.3 The Fan. One for each of you. First, Damani, Greg mentioned the working collaboratively as an organization. Sometimes football organizations, there can be a gulf between football and non-football. So what are the things maybe that you can do to kind of help everyone kind of get on the same page within an organization like this one?
Yeah, I think one thing that I bring to the table that I think will be an asset is someone who at least played college football at a fairly high level, but I have empathy for what happens in a football organization, what the goals are, what the challenges are, and I can communicate that to the organization. I think what's most important is that we have a shared goal. So when we say it's about winning on and off the field, being committed to that. And then I think ultimately on a day-to-day basis, it's about communication, really being candid and open with the communication, having moments where we meet on a regular basis and talk about those issues.
And Greg, for you, it's been nearly 3 weeks since assuming the reins here. What have you learned about this sport, this industry, that maybe you didn't know when you first arrived here earlier this month?
It's been a terrific 3 weeks. It's been busy. Obviously, we've had a couple games, attending practices, just getting a chance to see how the football operation works. And George and Nathaniel, and it's intense. And the preseason, it seems to drag on for a little while, but I think Nathaniel's got our team ready, and even for the guys who haven't played much, he had everybody moving in the same direction and with a goal. And I think we're going to be in a great position when we get to Seattle in a couple weeks, and just can't wait to get there and get started.
Hi, Damani. Sean Keeler at the Denver Post. With your background with events both domestically and internationally, obviously,
I guess I'm kind of curious. Greg already knows the elephant in the room is in Power Field to some degree. That's going to be in your wheelhouse. I'm wondering what your thoughts on the stadium since you've had that experience for a game day, and in developing that next generation of fans. What are they going to see in that experience, and whether it's current location or not?
Well, first of all, Empower Field at Mile High Stadium is a world-class facility. It not only hosts, amazing NFL games, but also concerts and other events, and, is a core part of this community. There are a number of things that I'll be looking at as I take over in this organization. Obviously, this stadium is one of them. On day one, I don't have any proclamations to make, but it's certainly something I'll be evaluating.
Hi, Darren McKee from 104.3 The Fan for Damani, and then for Mr. Penner as well. First, what successful traits have you noticed, Mr. Leach, about successful organizations that you've seen at the league office? Meaning, what successful habits do they have? And the second question I have to ask to both of you guys, are you thinking about uniforms? Because that is by far the biggest question I get from the fans out there.
So good question about the successful organizations. I think if there's a theme across our 32, and you hear this across sports, not just football, is there is a tendency for a lot of clubs to do things the same way. And the organizations that have been really successful from a business standpoint have had a growth mindset and an innovation mindset, have zigged when others have zagged. Doesn't always work, but definitely take chances to try to connect with fans in new and unique ways. And that's no more important now than it's ever been, with all the different opportunities fans have for entertainment, not just sports entertainment. So I definitely have that approach and that mindset to it. I think uniforms is a good example of that, where I think you've got to try and balance history and tradition and 3 Super Bowls wearing this uniform, but also understanding that tastes evolve, your customer evolves, and connecting with fans and representing your brand in the best way is important to do. Again, no proclamations on day one, but is also one of those things certainly that I'll be looking at.
The main thing I've learned in a few weeks is there are a lot of opinions about the uniforms, and I have not formed any conclusions yet.
Damani, welcome to Denver. Zach Stevens with DNVR. This is a question for both of you. You both have talked about how winning is the #1 priority. What does that look like this year, and what are your goals and expectations for the team on the field this year?
You want to take that first? Or go for it. Sure. So I don't think it's a specific record. Obviously, a key goal would be we want to make the playoffs. We'd love to win a championship. That's I think always has to be the goal when you come into a season. And so that's our goal. That's our focus.
Yeah. I mean, again, my focus is off the field, supporting football, providing them with the tools and resources to be successful, whether that's financial or our people, supporting and amplifying what they're doing on the field, in the community, helping our players grow their brands is my focus. That's what success looks like for me.
Jeff Legwald from ESPN. Damani, first for you. Sort of 12 weeks ago, were you thinking, I sure want to be a team president someday? And in that light, what did you want to show Greg in the initial interview? What did you hope he saw in you for the job? And then, Greg, what did you want to hear or see from anyone who got that you would give the job to?
So as this process started, what I would say is I was at the league office for just under 8 years and was comfortably challenged in my role, some days uncomfortably challenged, but very challenged in my role, was not looking for any opportunity. But as I saw the ownership transition take place, it definitely piqued my interest. And then as the process evolved, I think as I got to talk to Greg and to Rob and Carrie and Melody and Condoleezza, my interest and excitement just continued to grow. What I wanted to do was make sure that was clear to them as somebody who has more of a league or headquarters experience and profile, wanted to make it clear to them not only that I was interested in it, but then I could be an asset given that 30,000-foot view I've had of sports organizations, both professional and college.
We were mainly looking for characteristics that were the right fit. So again, I mentioned some in the beginning, which is someone who was forward-looking, collaborative. The values had to align with ours as an ownership group. And then it was looking at the experiences that all of the candidates had a very diverse experiences, but Damani really rose to the top with his experience at the NFL, working with the 32 different organizations and growing the business on an international basis. We had one interview where he actually prepared a document and laid out how he would think about laying out his objectives for himself and the organization, the business operations, and that was particularly impressive.
Hey, Damani, it's Arnie Stapleton from Associated Press. Talking about standing on the shoulders of giants, I'm wondering, I know that Joe Ellis had a lot of a different role than you're stepping into in the last few years. He had a lot of hats that he wore, but what do you admire when you look, and I'm sure you've watched him from afar, what do you admire about what he did? What can you kind of take from your predecessor?
Yeah, good question. A few things. One, Joe had a tremendous reputation across the league. I think given the length of his tenure and the success the club has had, particularly from a fan standpoint, was particularly impressive. I think here more recently, though, Joe has been incredibly gracious with his time and with me. We actually just emailed over the weekend, and while he isn't going to be here every day, is committed to being a resource and being available to me for any questions or thoughts that I have, and I really appreciated that.
Damani, Parker Gabriel from USA Today. I think now there are 4 African-American team presidents in the NFL. How do you sort of take measure of the significance of that, your place in it, and then also sort of the path to creating more opportunities for minority candidates?
I'm number 4. I'm not number 1, which I think is a statement in and of itself, in that I'm not the first. And what you're seeing is the league beginning to evolve in areas of appreciating diversity, equity, and inclusion. As I talked about standing on the shoulders of giants, I think that's within this organization. But when you look at black executives across sports, also I stand on the shoulders of giants, those not just in football, but across other leagues, professional and collegiate, many of whom have been mentors to me and have reached out to me as this announcement has taken shape to really congratulate me. And I appreciate that and therefore understand the duty I have to really sort of pay that forward to the next generation.
Brandon Cristal, KOA. Damani, there's a lot of newness here. New ownership, you talked about keeping an eye on that. A new quarterback that's had a pretty good first decade in his career, a new head coach, second-year GM. How much did the newness and the excitement around the organization factor into you wanting to take the job?
Pretty significantly. That was one of the things I was most excited about, was joining a group, a new group across ownership, football, business, coaches, general managers, quarterback. A lot of that was really exciting because when you want to grow and innovate, having people who are coming to it with fresh eyes and or just different experiences across business and life was really, really attractive.
Thank you.